So I just want to kind of finish my thinking on projects Wet and Wild and what I started out by Wascana Lake. And I think for me, Project Wet resonated a little stronger. I'm not sure why. I don't think it's the material because, I mean, as a biologist, I study plant-insect interactions, so I'm not sure that the material in wild actually isn't maybe more relevant to my scientific experience, but nevertheless, I think I resonated better with Project Wet, and I think that may just be because of the timing of the two. I maybe felt more engaged early in the morning than I did later on in the day. You know, almost information overload sort of thing. Because between the two of them in one day, it is a tremendous amount of information to try and absorb. And of course, as you're going along, you're constantly thinking, okay, well, how can I incorporate this into a potential lesson, right? And or at least I was, and consequently, I was intellectually engaged the whole time, and you get tireder and tireder, right? And it's I think maybe that's why Project Wet was maybe a little bit more resonant with me, but I think both of them have some great ideas, and I know that I tried maybe to allude to this a little bit out by Wascana Lake, but I know you were a little bit concerned with whether or not you know, we would only deal with as potential teachers and maybe even potential instructors sort of thing. You were a little bit worried that we might only deal with the ones that we had seen. I don't think that's an issue, because I think most of us know going in that it's a set of things, and I think most of us, at least in the material that we were responsible for on Sunday, I think most of us realized, of course, that there's an awful lot there, and of course in reading through to find one that was both active, engaging, and short enough to fit into a 20-minute time span, we, you know, went over our individual chapters at least really well. And then of course there was the activity, you know, towards the end of classes where we would kind of reflect on what we did and why we did it, and, you know, what else we looked at and why we looked at it and why we chose what we did. It just sort of gives maybe an indication that there's a lot more there, and you have to look through in order to get everything. But I mean, I don't know, in terms of my overall impression of the two resources, I think they're fantastic resources. I will certainly use them. I don't think there's any question about that. I think, though, a person has to be careful not to come to rely too much on, I guess, other people's work to the detriment of coming up with lessons of your own. I think we're all creative in our own ways, and at least I would like to personally focus some lessons, at least in terms of ecology and so on insects, which is a great big interest of mine. And, you know, I didn't see an awful lot of I mean, I think it was mentioned in a few places, but I didn't see an awful lot of time spent in either of those resources on insects and the role they play in both wetland environments, which is significant, and in terms of you know, in terms of Project Wild, maybe just in the environment as a whole. And I didn't see that there to the extent that satisfies me, considering that insects are amongst the most important of macroorganisms on this planet. And I'm not overstating my case when I say that. There's more species of insects than there is species of any other animals combined. They're adapted to just about every single environment you can imagine, all the way from the Arctic to you know, to the tropical jungles. They anything mammals have done, insects have done better. And that is the reality. You know, we have a very mammal-centric view of our environment because we are how can I put this? We have a mammal-centric view of our environment because we are mammals and we can more easily relate with other mammals. We have a tendency to want to anthropomorphize everything. And it's easier to anthropomorphize a kangaroo, which I'm sure you are fairly familiar with. Much easier to anthropomorphize a kangaroo than it is to anthropomorphize a beetle. And I think that's a tremendous oversight in an awful lot of the things we do in relation to ecology, considering that ecologically speaking, that beetle probably plays a more important role than that kangaroo does. Not to say I want to get rid of kangaroos, it's just to say that, you know, we have to focus more on maybe the less we have to focus more on aspects of our environment that are ignored by and large. And I think insects are that. So, yeah.